How to reduce your takt time, and specifically in construction, on a construction project. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how you can use the takt time formula, but also how you can start to measure whether or not you're ready for a smaller takt time. If you're into that, stay with us on this video. Okay, I'm super stoked about this. We're gonna go through this because there's just a lot to cover here, okay? Let me actually start out with something kind of neat. Your project will very rarely, if ever, stick with a 5-day takt time, okay? Let me be clear about that. And I learned this from Hal Makeover. The 5-day takt time is typically used for what's called a macro level takt plan. This is the early pre-construction plan. It's a strategic plan used by the first planners, not the last planners entirely. What happens here is that the idea is in a macro level takt plan, you should be able to create the overall strategic plan for the project and set milestones. It's basically your strategy. Now, most of the time we don't have trade partners at this point, and so this is really a first planner system. And so what happens is we'll take these phases and we'll do a pull plan, and when we do a pull plan with the trades, we'll analyze how many zones would be ideal for the trades, and then what we will have as a result, oh my gosh, this is such a good video, is a norm level takt plan. And I'm just going to draw one of these. If the macro looked like this, then the norm level takt plan, I'm just going to make it up, would look like this, and you will gain buffers at the end of that. So this is your promise. Think about it like you're getting married, and this is your target. This is what you want to do, right? Most people get married, they're all fancy, they're dolling up, they're wearing perfume, they're treating their partner nice. And then in marriage, it's like, surprise, these are the noises I make while eating, and I'm like not going to like take care of you anymore. That's actually not the way to do the marriage. You should be yourself when you're courting, and then amp it up from there and like really start to like buy gifts and like amp up your hygiene and like take care of your spouse, right? That's the way to do it. So the same thing in takt planning is we promise our slowest speed or our worst performance, and then we target our better performance. Same thing when we're dating. This is who I really am. Marriage, you're always growing and becoming better, okay? So macro and norm will always be, for me, on a 5-day takt time until somebody proves that that's not the right way to go. At least in the United States, people are really accustomed to thinking in weeks and in larger zone sizes like 10, 15,000 square feet. So we're able to get a base and then optimize from there. If you are going to actually optimize to the norm, you will end up with scenarios where you have a 4-day takt time, a 3-day takt time, a 2-day takt time, or a 1. I want to start out by explaining that this is pretty easy to do in North America and in Europe. And a 3-day takt time is very doable. It starts to get a skinchy bit like, that's aggressive. You got smaller zone sizes. Every 3 days you're clapping, drum beating or takt timing people into new zones. This is probably where we are. By the way, every country throughout the world is absolutely great. I only use the United States because I live in the United States, right? But in the US, we're probably right here. In parts of Germany and Sweden and France, where the takt practitioners are doing a pretty darn good job, they're into the 2-day, 1-day takt time, right? Most notably, Marco Binniger in the company that he works for, Weisenberg about, they are on a 2-day takt time, sometimes 1-day takt time. This is when your trades are used to it and they're proficient, right? There will be a day, and for our construction company as well, where we want to get down to a 1-day takt time and really be jamming through that work on a really, really nice pace. So you're not going to stick with 5 because that's just going to waste a bunch of time. 4, 3, I understand that you're there. I want to encourage people to go more towards the smaller takt times because it really does a lot for you. The takt time formula, as given to me by Janos Louis and Marco Binniger, is takt wagons plus takt zones minus 1 multiplied by the takt time equals the duration of the phase, or the train more specifically, and you could also call this your throughput time. Now, just a quick example, I won't do the math here, but let's say that you have 2 takt wagons with 2 zones, then, and I've done this a million times, if you say, hey, I want to split these zones, let me just draw what the zone would look like. You'd have zone 1, zone 2. If you were like, hey, nah, I want to make my zone smaller to where it was 1, 2, 3, 4, so the zone sizes were smaller, then what it would look like is this. You would have a really nice takt plan, and what happens here, I hope you can see it, is your throughput times shorten, okay? Just simply by making your zone sizes smaller. And this is just a simple little silly example here. The key here is if you want smaller takt times, oh my gosh, this is such a good video. You need to have your trades get more proficient, and you need less variation. I hope that really stuck right there. A more predictable and stable job site, and hopefully the team has experience with each other. That's one. But the other way to reduce your takt time is to reduce your zone size, because your takt time, I'll just mark that here, is proportional to the amount of work that you have within that zone, okay? So hopefully we're super clear on that. But let me tell you one more concept, and if you love it, please like this video. I want to talk to you about some of the things that I've seen in reducing takt time. I've already told you the 2 different ways. Like I said, more proficiency, less variation than using the formula. But let's say that your trades are actually getting faster doing the work that they already had to do in a larger takt time. And we cover this in the book Takt Steering and Control, but let me start out by mentioning a loose translation of Kingman's formula into construction. I mean, like, this is loose. No manufacturing people, please comment and make fun of me. I am taking those concepts and using them in construction. So when I think about the lesson learned from Kingman's formula, basically what we understand is that typically in construction, there's the activity time for something, and the overall time that it takes, that's what I call an in-zone cycle time. It's the overall time, not just how long the activity takes. And let's just use the example of takt time, right? That's the time you had, and this is within a zone, right? And this is the amount of work, right? Typically, you should have a nice little buffer in here, and buffers at the end of an activity are great to finish work, clean up, reflect, work in one piece, one process flow, train your workers, demobilize, finish your inspections, right? It's a great opportunity. But the other time here is actually spent on 2 things that you won't like. Number 1 is variation, okay? And the other one is productivity loss from that variation, or from non-onboarded, meaning that non-pre-trained, non-pre-onboarded additional workers, slowing the productivity of the crew, or bringing out too many materials, and then you have at least the 7, if not the 8 wastes, or you have rushing and pushing and panicking here, which cause productivity loss, or you have too much whip, or, right? So anything, variation can cause productivity loss, but there are other things. Too many people, too many materials, too much rushing, pushing, and panicking, too much whip, too much distraction. The activity time isn't the overall time that it takes. The in-zone cycle time is not only how long it takes to prepare, do it, but also to absorb variation and any productivity loss plus your buffer. Now, here's the thing. When I say, additional people might not make your work go faster, let me draw this for you. You would think that if you add more people to something, that actually your activity time would be smaller, and therefore this whole thing, this line right here, would move in. But actually, when you add more people, because you have more variation, and because you actually have more loss of productivity because you have non-onboarded, non-ready people coming to the project site, actually this line extends, and your in-zone cycle time will extend. So again, this is variation and this is productivity loss. So your activity might be a little bit shorter, but because your variation and your productivity loss is greater, your overall time might actually increase. If you're implementing lean practices and without adding more people, you are just getting better and better and better at this. So let's say that your activity time, simply by repetition and practice and better techniques, it's getting faster. And let's say your variation that you're experiencing is getting less. Your crew is getting used to each other, so the productivity loss is getting less, and you only need a little bit of a buffer. Your crews might start to say, that was the original target. Hey, I need less time for my activity. Okay? And this is how you really gain on the activity times. Now, you don't want to waste that extra time. So what you'll start to do is look for a pattern. Let's say that you're on a job site with a phase and you're on a 4-day takt time. And let's say your trades, when you first packaged them, were pretty decently within that 4-day takt time, pretty decently. But then after a couple of months, let's take that same 4-day takt time, your first trade reports that they're going faster. Then your second going faster. Then you might say, hey, we're really getting close to a 3-day takt time. We might want to go from a 4 to a 3-day takt time simply based on all of our contractors being able to narrow their overall duration and then being able to narrow their takt time. Okay, but what you need to do is watch them as a whole, because we've all got to be going the same speed and the same distance apart, right? And let me just say, if you have some contractors that are going a bit faster, but then you've got 2 or 3 that aren't, you can't reduce the takt time and mess over those 3 contractors. You're looking at this as an aggregate. So in summary, which we don't do and they don't allow me to do on the YouTube, but I'm going to do it anyway, is you can get more proficient with less variation. You can use smaller zone sizes with a smaller takt time. But the other thing you want to do is actually reduce variation and productivity loss, get better at the activity, and look at your trades as an aggregate to see if they can start to produce the same amount of work in less time. And my experience tells me that most of the time the trades ask for this. They're like, J Money, 4-day takt time is too much. We're getting really good at this. We want to go to 3. Right, then we want to go to 2. Typically, it will be the trades that ask you. So those are the ways that you can reduce your takt time on a project. I hope you absolutely love this. We'll leave you some sketches. And remember, this is in the books Takt Planning and Takt Steering and Control. I hope you've loved this video. On we go.